Welcome to Vilnius. As a deputy mayor, I tend to greet everyone when they arrive to Vilnius who are already living here. Welcome to Vilnius also once again. And I have some thoughts today to say to you about education. There are three points I just wanted you to know and maybe to reflect on before starting your journey on this weekend. And the first thesis is it is only an idea. Do you know the chart? And could somebody guess what's shown in this chart? What is shown on screen? Number of people.
Number of innovations.
Number of innovations.
Job losses?
Job losses. That's a little bit cold guess, you know. It's GDP per capita of the world from the 1,000 year before Christ or before Annus Dominus and to Industrial Revolution and to up to this day. When we generally learn about this chart in schools, I remember myself that I was going through the history books and thinking whether it's all about the gadgets that brought Industrial Revolution, this kind of immense up the hill going at the 18th century, 19th century. And my thesis to you today is it's not only about the gadgets, it's about the idea. Let me show you an example. This is a Mexican-US border, a very peculiar place to see. You can probably guess at which side is America and which side is Mexico. When you think about what happened in this region and why there are so many differences, it's really interesting to understand why people who are born on the one side of the wall could have one possibilities in life, their average life expectancy, their average wage, economical, social measures are pretty much, well, different than if you're born on the left side of the wall. And when the scholars tend to look a little bit more deeper into what happened, why there are some regions which are geographically very similar, but talking about the quality of life, talking about the money, talking about the economy, they are pretty different. And this is about the ideas, about the social institutions which were started a little bit different at those times. When conquistadors came to Spain, from Spain to South America, Latin America, and they saw Aztecs, Incas, Maya populations, they were very rich populations. Lots of gold, lots of copper, lots of different goods, and they started extorting them. With the guns, as you saw from history lessons, they bullied, even I would say, the population which was living on these very rich lands. When the people came to the Northern America, imagine a Canada, a Frenchman going to some, I don't know, really cold place to Newfoundland. What they saw, there was no gold there. There were some, I don't know, local Indians, some furs, a cold climate, nothing to see. They started to creating a little bit different institutions that are not extorting, that are being brought on the idea of peaceful trade and private property. And the general idea of the private property and of safety, if you are willing to work hard, you are willing to earn money, have your own wealth, and later on you can safely leave it to your children, was a start of an industrial revolution, and it was a start of immense speed of people getting wealthier. This is, and on the left side of the wall and on the left side of the picture, it was idea of extorting. And later on, you can see, if you look into a little bit the history of Mexico, you can see that from the conquistador times, really the institutions were not defending private property. There was no incentive of people to innovate, because there was no incentive of people to get wealthy and to leave it for their children. And as you see, there are, from the 18th or 19th century, all the quality of life indexes. You can see the GDP per capita, life expectancy, energy capture, also war-making capacity increased dramatically. This was still, I would say that it was a biggest turning point in the history of humankind, and this was based firstly and foremost about the idea, about the social idea, that later on reflected on the steam engine, electric bulb, and whatever you may find as the biggest inventions at that time. So when I'm thinking about today, you know, I think that we sometimes overestimate what's a gadget is, what's a new invention is, and underestimating a little bit the concept of the idea, the concept of a social relationship between the humans. And if we look at that a little bit further or deeper, we may find another really big turning point in the history of humankind another time. The second thing I want to say to you, there are things that do not change a lot. When we think about the 18th century, for example, and this is a man bringing some, I don't know, carriage to the I don't know, other place, for example, and of course he's dead now. But if he arises from the grave one day, for example, in this 21st century, I don't know if he could do his job really well, because there are different skills that are required to continue with the same profession as it was back then. It's a doctor. Well, he's, I don't know, measuring pulse or something. And he would, if he would arise from the grave from the 18th century, it would be difficult for him to do some surgeon things that require new technology and new insights about the human body, and all in all about the medicine. But if a teacher arises from the grave of 18th century, I was looking for the picture of a teacher, you know, of 21st century teacher, modern teaching, anything. This is what I've got. I don't know, maybe I could scroll a little bit more, but it's pretty same. The idea is really similar. So interesting to see that there is a profession that did not experience industrial revolution. I don't know, maybe there are some more professions, but what happened that if they did not experience industrial revolution, and if the 18th century teacher arise from the grave nowadays, they could pretty much continue the maths or, I don't know, literature teaching the same way they did it back then. I don't know what happened. Actually, I do not have an answer. Maybe that's based on the relationship with other people. Maybe there are things that already were invented, and we try to a little bit put unnecessary pressure onto the idea of change nowadays, because there are theories about what the education should look like in the future, that it should be more critical thinking, more general life skills, and everything. Maybe you know that story, but certainly the things did not change yet. it could change in the future, but it did not change yet. And when we are thinking about what's could happen, we could really be sure that the assumption that teacher profession would not change for some years to come until something really breaks down is a powerful assumption. And there are third quotation I wanted for you to just to say to you that carrying out innovations is the only function which is fundamental in history. It is peculiar that this quote is from 1939, but definitely innovations do happen despite that teacher profession, for example, didn't change. And there are things that move history forward. And economy goes into that way that without innovation, just everything would stall completely. And peculiar is that teachers who did not change from the 18th century are at the center of the stage of innovation, really. It starts with the school, it starts with the young minds. And these waves, when you see them flocking each after another, from water power mechanization to digital networks, biotechnology, to sustainability, green chemistry ideas or green nanotechnology ideas, are really a big force. But it's still not that force that shocked the world in 18th, 19th century, as you see, when all the parameters of life, of a man, of humankind, changed completely. So these are my 3 ideas to puzzle you a bit in this Saturday morning, because when I think about the innovation of education and what could really help us to prepare for the future, which is certainly uncertain, and we do not know what happened, there are things I wanted to show you from the other side of the perspective. Thank you very much and have a good weekend.